This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm here with Chef Scott Vivian at Beast Restaurant in Toronto. And what are we doing this afternoon, Scott?
We're making mozzarella.
Mozzarella. Now, I have never made mozzarella before. How does one go about doing that, and what are you cutting up here?
So generally you start with this, which is the curd. We get these curds from Cheese Boutique. So really the difficult part of mozzarella making has already been taken out of the way. But what we're doing is a composed dish using this mozzarella. So what I like to accomplish with the curd is by pulling it myself, I can get a little bit more elasticity and a good amount of salt content, much more than you would get from a manufactured mozzarella.
Right, now where do these curds come from? Are they local? Are they Italian? What's the story?
These are Italian curds, so it does take a little bit of time to get in, but there are some really good curd companies out of New York State that I've worked with before. These ones have a really nice creamy texture, and I find them really easy to work with. Essentially, we're going to be taking the cut up curds and then putting them in the water. It's heavily salted water, and that's really going to break down the curds in a way that you can start forming your mozzarella ball and start the stretching process, which builds the elasticity. Alright, so curds in the water, and we'll just do enough for one mozzarella ball right now. Just leave it be. The water's quite hot, it's just below boiling, so the process kind of speeds up a little bit that way. If you were doing traditional mozzarella making at this point, you would put all of your curds in the boiling water, mix them all together with your wooden spoon or spatula, and then you're doing all of the kind of that whole process you're doing in the water, whereas this way, which is the way that I learned, is a process of heating up, taking out, forming, and then putting it back in every time you need to get it pliable. It's probably not the most orthodox way of doing it, but that's the way that I was taught how to do it.
Where did you learn how to do this, Scott?
From a chef in Portland, Oregon, actually, by the name of Lisa Schroeder. Yeah, it's getting super hot right now. So, taking them out, this is the first process, which is basically you've gotten them all heated up, and now you kind of just want to work them together and allow them to kind of form that one ball. I mean, you can really just, what I like to do in each process is kind of squeeze out some of the moisture and allow it. Now you kind of have your initial beginning mozzarella ball. Obviously it needs some work, but every time it cools down, the curds get a little bit less pliable, so that's what I'm using this hot water for, is to put it back in, heat it back up again so that the curds become a little bit more pliable, and then forming in the pan.
And how long does this process normally take for each batch, Scott?
For a batch of, I would say, about 4 or 5 pounds, it shouldn't take more than about 15-20 minutes.
Right.
Obviously, the hotter your water is, the quicker the process begins. So now what I'm going to do is flatten everything out. Everything's kind of, all those cubes have now reformed back together, and I'm going to start folding it over and pulling it. Flattening the mozzarella back out, pulling it, folding it over. So this is the process where I'm really building the elasticity of the mozzarella, which is going to give it that really nice chew. So I like to do it the first time to get the strands going. Then I'm just going to heat it back up for about 20 seconds or so. The water still is quite hot, so this will allow me to finish the stretching process.
Is this something that if you could get access to mozzarella curds, you could do at home?
Easily, right. Very easily, yeah. There's nothing that I'm doing here that is any special, using any special kitchen equipment or anything like that. Right. You just need hot water, salt, and the curds.
What's the saturation of salt in that water that you have there?
Salty like the sea.
Salty like the sea, okay.
Alright, so as you can see, it's it's formed quite good elasticity, and so the pulling process is over. And now on my last step, hopefully last step, is actually forming, shaping the ball, and then cooling it down so that it's ready to eat.
Fantastic.
I would suggest if you're doing it at home to keep the water a little bit cooler than this. It's a little bit of a slower process, but it allows you to not burn the palms of your hands.
Right, I was wondering what was going on there.
So now I'm just pushing up from the bottom, tucking in, and really allowing that mozzarella ball to form, stretching it out so it has a nice smooth texture.
I don't know why that looks kind of rude to me. It's just,
And that's
maybe
it.
it's just my brain. But
It's your mozzarella ball.
That's how mozzarella balls are formed.
And then I'm just gonna put it in some water and let it cool down so that it firms up.
Very nice.
What we're gonna kind of do is a loose interpretation of the traditional caprese salad. So we've already made the mozzarella component of it. This is a little bit of salsa verde, so this is gonna be the herb component. It's fresh basil, mint, and parsley with a little bit of anchovy and red chili flakes.
Good. Now, how often do you make mozzarella like this at Beast?
I only make it for you, Jamie.
Oh, seriously, how often do you make this? How often is it on the menu?
Because the menu changes every week, I'm not making it, and the availability is not always that easy to get. So
I see.
I would say in the course of the year, I tend to make it more towards the warmer months so that I can get nice fresh heirloom tomatoes, and obviously like mozzarella, heirloom tomato is such a perfect combination. So usually that time of year is when you're going to see it on the Beast menu.
So that would be the time of year that you'd recommend people come in if they want to try some of your house-made mozzarella.
Absolutely. All right, so we have our mozzarella ball. It's had some time to chill down in the ice bath, and then we're just gonna give a little slice here in the middle. Now you can see, nice and smooth.
Yeah.
The one thing that you want to make sure is when you're doing all those folds and stuff like that, you don't want a mozzarella ball that you can see
air
the
pockets
actual
and things,
folds
yeah,
and air
yeah.
pockets. So, you know, there's a little bit of, I don't know if you can catch it with the camera, there's still a little bit of steam coming off of it, so it is a little bit warm, which in a perfect world is the best way to have it. And when we do this fresh, we only serve it fresh on the day of, and then once this goes into the refrigerator, which will happen after that night service, then it becomes a different type of mozzarella product. Then we'll slice it up to make sandwiches, melt it on pizza, stuff like that. But when it's at its freshest before it's ever been refrigerated, which is the day that it's made, is when we do the nice fresh component.
Right, okay.
So it does have a good amount of salt content, but I always like just a little bit of Malden sea salt on top for that crunch and a little bit more flavor. And then we're gonna take some duck skin that we have left over after we do our duck confit, shredded duck confit for our French toast at brunch. We take the skin and we fry it up nice and crispy. So we're just gonna use that as kind of the crunchy component of the salad, almost like a crouton.
Tasty.
And then right here we have just a little bit of our homemade pickled fennel.
How long is the pickle on that?
It's about 48 hours, and then we kind of just let it sit for as long as it needs to. But after about 48 hours is when it's at its prime. And that's basically it. I mean, you can always do, mozzarella does not shy away from a little bit of black pepper, so you can do like a nice bit of black pepper so you get some of that extra flavor. And then I like to take another Italian product to tie it all in, which is saba, which is a reduced grape must. Gives a nice sweetness to the dish and just a little bit of presentation.
Wonderful.
And that's
so
it.
This is like a kind of winter mozzarella salad we've got
Exactly.
going on here.
Exactly.
Excellent.
We're not using any tomatoes because they're not in season, and they wouldn't have any flavor, and you don't want to take away from the good flavor of the mozzarella. If I did have some, which we just ran out, we usually take some oven-dried tomatoes that we do in the summertime, preserve them in oil, and would serve it with that.
Right.
Otherwise, you can find any other good winter vegetables, squash, stuff like that. Do a nice roast on them and serve it with them. It'd be a perfect vegetarian dish.
Nice. Scott Vivian from Beast Restaurant in Toronto, thank you very much for showing us how you make your house-made mozzarella.
You're welcome.
Take care, sir.